Hey everyone, welcome back to another video, and before I get started, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that's been watching the videos and subscribed. I just reached 1,000 subscribers, so that's awesome to know that you guys are enjoying the videos. The next update is just around the corner, but we still don't know all the details yet. So far, we only know that Captain America, Wolverine, and Hyperion are getting a uniform, and that Hyperion is getting a T3 upgrade. But before everyone gets immersed into the content for the next update, I just wanted to share my final testing for the Agent of Atlas upgrades, specifically for Crescent and Sharon Rogers. Since I reviewed these characters fairly early on, when the update just dropped, I didn't really get a chance to test them in Alliance Conquest since that wasn't active at the time. So as a result, this video is going to be fairly quick compared to my other videos, and I'll be looking specifically at how Crescent and Sharon Rogers do in Alliance Conquest, as well as some tips on team combos and teams that you can use them versus. Before I look at the Alliance Conquest stuff, I wanted to quickly share my progress in World Boss Legend, in that I was able to clear the Null challenge where you have to finish the fight within 90 seconds, and I was able to do that with Sharon Rogers. Now, this isn't necessarily due to the new uniform, this is more so the fact that I was able to use White Fox because she got her T3 upgrade and was now usable in the mode. Also, I do have that 16% pierce on my cards and the 100 to 120% energy damage, I believe, so that obviously helps, but the reason I posted this wasn't really to gloat or show off or anything. It was just to let people know that if you have stats somewhere around there, you don't necessarily have to pay the crystals, you can clear it in that 90-second duration or time restriction. Also, if you want to use her to solo Galactus, although many characters can do this now and it's probably not that impressive, I still find it very satisfying to see the bars just melt away with one combo. Anyways, the reason that I even made the video is to show you that these new uniforms actually do have some improvements in PvP, specifically Alliance Conquest. So for Sharon Rogers, one thing that's really nice for her upgrade in terms of Alliance Conquest is that the 4th skill hits very hard and now can track opponents. With the previous uniform, if the opponent moved out of the way when the 4th was cast, you might lose all your damage from that. Besides this, the 4th skill now has 1 second of invincible on it, which might not seem like a lot, but it actually refreshes for the whole duration of the 4th skill. So as long as you're in the 4th skill, you're invincible for that full duration. As you can see from this clip, I was able to survive over 25 seconds in the first fight versus defenders. To give you another example of the team that I'm using to make Sharon Rogers work versus a top meta team like the Defenders, I'm basically just swapping her in where you would usually have another character like Cable. So she's the main damage dealer. I don't have the penetration, but I do have a CTP of Destruction on Iron Fist, which helps with that penetration, and she can do the main damage. If you're wondering what build I have on her, I'm still using the CTP of Energy since it works fine with the team that I'm using her on. I haven't really used her leadership on any teams, but I'm thinking that it's probably nice on characters like Falcon who have a self debuff, and that you're likely going to use versus a blast type or energy based characters, which he has a type advantage versus. So that energy shield from Sharon when you're on offense, and the fact that they'll use a combat type to probably counter Falcon, and Sharon can counter them since she's a blast type, should synergize pretty well. Regardless, you can see the damage potential that she has for Alliance Conquest and her improved survival in this mode, with her newest uniform of course. I recall some people asking me if Crescent is any good in Alliance Conquest, since she does seem pretty decent in Timeline, and the answer is yes. As you can see from this video, she's a hard counter to Quicksilver, and she's really good versus other meta teams, as you'll see. You saw in that first fight, even though there was 2 blast types, she didn't really have any trouble surviving, and was able to survive Quicksilver's first burst damage and still take out the whole team. The build that I have on her, by the way, is a reforged CTP of Regen with damage on it. Since that first team worked out successfully, then in the second test I'm fighting some stronger metas using the exact same team. So a third that does some damage and can potentially counter any blast types that are used to counter Crescent. Technically this team would be as if I had used a debuff leadership and a support with Crescent, since I'm using Wasp and Crescent's own leadership to boost the team. And the obvious benefit of using Wasp is that you can use a third character that is a support to boost up Crescent even more, or do what I did, which is have a character that kind of helps protect Crescent against the damage types that have an advantage versus her. You'll see in all the testing that I did that I used Wasp with Crescent since I believe it got the best use of her leadership, and that Wasp is kind of not really the most ideal to use versus top metas anymore, since there's a lot of good debuff leaderships and supports that you can combo together. Also, you'll notice in the clip that her summon actually helps her a lot, since most people usually think that summons are detrimental to the character since they can't really iframe out of skills because the summon is still there for the enemy to cast skills on. But you'll see that in this clip, Crescent is all the way in the top, whereas Io is taking all the brunt of all the damage, which obviously helps her a lot for her survival since she can avoid some very hard-hitting skills and be able to recover health while that summon is being hit. And if you're wondering if she's capable of taking out Doom, like I mentioned before, you have that availability of a third support if you use Wasp on top of her own leadership. So yeah, she can take out Doom, even ones that have Colossus support or other supports on the team. You have a lot of options for your third character support. You have all the ones that do damage versus villain types, and you also have the option of using Colossus if you really want to get that added survival, but I find one of the best ones is Ebony Maw, since you get that damage and survival from his uniform passive. Obviously, the one downside of this particular team is that Crescent doesn't boost up Ebony Maw since he deals energy-based damage and not physical-based damage. However, this isn't entirely bad since if the opponent tries to use a physical reflect counter, Ebony Maw won't be affected by it. So in that sense, another potential team that you can use is Nova in the third spot instead of Ebony Maw. The added benefit that you get here is that Nova has native penetration, whereas Ebony Maw does not. So you get that added penetration, whereas Ebony Maw gives you some mind control effects. Regardless of the team that you experiment or go with, you can see that Crescent does have a lot of potential and is a really good character for Alliance Conquest. I didn't really test out Luna Snow in Alliance Conquest since I still have a CTP of Rage on her, but I'm pretty sure if you use something like Transcendence or possibly Destruction or something like that, she could have some decent use with some burst damage. Judgment might actually be pretty good for her too, since you'll get that use for her in PvE and get a little bit better use for her in PvP compared to the Rage. But for the most part, I'm pretty sure people will use her primarily for PvE since she's so easy to score highly in content like ABX and whatever, and do pretty well in high stages of World Boss Ultimate or possibly even Legend. Anyways, that's the video. I just wanted to quickly show off what Crescent and Sharon Rogers can do with their latest uniforms. The next video will probably be highlights of what the next update brings, and then I'll go into the video after that, which is a little bit more detailed breakdown of how those characters and uniforms do in PvE and PvP. So if you're interested to see my breakdown and testing of that, please consider subscribing and hitting that bell notification so you know when that video is up. Thanks again to everyone that has already subscribed and has helped me get to 1,000 subscribers. That's very much appreciated. But yeah, thanks for watching, but the video is now over.